Alright, so I've been playing through all the Souls games recently, and I'm going to do a tier list on each of the games individually, and I might do a big one at the end. But anyway, let's start with the uh, first of the Souls games, obviously Demon Souls. So we're just going to go in order from first to last here. They're not in the actual boss order, but I'll put them on the tier list, talk about them a little bit, and we'll go from there. And uh, this will be all inclusive. So, when I rate Old King Allant, that's not going to be by game. This is going to be my complete opinion as him as a boss in the entirety of Souls. So, yep. Anyway, let's get started. All right, Old King Allant. Um, honest God, I think he is a between A and B. Really, I'm gonna give him like a high B here. Um, he is the most structurally solid of the bosses in Demon Souls, but it's obviously the first of the series, and there's way, way, way better bosses than Old King Alon. But in terms of the game, he's definitely up there in the better ones. All right. Dragon God. There needs to be another tier here. Um, yeah, we're just gonna call that shit, F tier. Yeah, Dragon God is, in my opinion, the worst boss in the entirety of Souls. Yeah. If you've fought Dragon God, you'll understand why. I think he's worse than Beta Chaos simply because there is no checkpoints with him, and an entire fight with him takes about 7 to 10 minutes, and he can one shot you. Yeah, it's a just all in all a horrible, horrible boss. And it sucks because he's such a visually incredible looking enemy, and yeah, just a overall terrible, terrible fight. Dirty Colossus. Uh, I don't remember a whole lot of this fight. It's a very, very forgettable fight. Um, from what I remember, which is again not much, as I said, it's nothing special. It is just the most on the worst end of average fight of all time. Yeah, I mean, there's not really a whole lot I can say about him. It's just not a great fight. It's super forgettable. Old Hero. This is the blind dude, if I recall correctly. This guy's pretty cool. I actually like him quite a bit. I think he's obviously a very, very, very easy boss. But yeah, I think he's I'll put him in C tier. I think he's a pretty interesting boss. I think it's a unique mechanic to actually have him be blind. I mean, I know there's a couple other characters in Souls that are actually or canonically blind, but this guy's like blindness actually impacts the fight. Not a hard boss, but a pretty very unique boss there. All right, Vanguard Demon. So this is the OG boss of Souls. This is the first guy everybody will encounter if they're playing the Souls games chronologically. Vanguard Demon is, you know, very average fight. Literally, the fight just kind of boils down to getting behind him and then just dodging his moves. But the first time you encounter him, he can quite literally one shot you. So, I mean, you'll encounter him again in, I believe, 4-1, but a very average fight. I'm going to put him in C tier just because he is the literal OG boss in Dark Souls. So, all right, Flame Lurker. Um, I like Flame Lurker. I really do. Um, it's not an overly difficult boss, but it does have super high physical damage resistance, if I recall correctly. So just keep in mind, I did all of this on the PS5 remake. I have not actually played the original version of Demon Souls, but which I mean, I realize here these are all the you know original models, but I think regardless, I think we can get through this just fine. Flame Lurker. I'm gonna put him in B tier. It's just again a very structurally solid fight, and yep. I mean, if you fought Flame Lurker, yeah, it's kind of like a boss that you would actually find in Dark Souls. So, yep. Anyway, Adjudicator. Adjudicator's cool. I it's not necessarily a great fight. It's super gimmicky, just like a lot of these fights. Um, but I mean, Adjudicator. I think the model is pretty great actually. But yeah, it's literally just attack the sword in the side over and over, and then hit the burden on their head. So yep, Adjudicator. Oh, yeah, I'll give it a C tier. I think it's better than Dirty Colossus. So Armor Spider. I hate this fight. I really, really hate this fight. It it's almost like you're gonna get hit no matter what you do. It's not necessarily an overly hard fight once you realize just stand in front of the boss and dodge what you can, because the boss doesn't, if I recall correctly, it doesn't hit super hard, and the little thing that comes down is kind of its weak spot. But boring fight, just not fun at all. It's actually super easy to cheese too. There's a certain area on the arena of the bot or on the arena that just the boss straight up cannot hit you, and you can just use bow and arrows and kill it really easily. So, um, it's not as bad as Dragon God, but it is worse than Dirty Colossus. So it's going to go in a D tier. It will, honestly, it'll be like between a D and an F. But yeah, anyway. So Man Eaters. This is the original gank boss fight, and I don't like it a whole lot. The arena for Man Eaters is absolutely horrible. It's super easy to fall off. I don't think Man Eaters actually took me that many attempts, but I didn't not enjoy fighting them at all. For that reason, I am going to place Man Eaters at a high D tier. I think Man Eaters are better than Dirty Colossus and Armor Spider, but um, not by much, really. All right, Fool's Idol. Not a great fight. So I'm part of the idiot crowd that found that the summoner guy, the viral uh, that you're supposed to kill before the fight, and he's like, "Oh yeah, don't bother me. I'm not gonna hurt you at all." I'm like, "Okay, yeah, I'll just give this guy the benefit of the doubt." Yeah, I really really regret that, because I probably killed Fool's Idol two or three times before I realized, okay, this boss is just straight up respawning. Um, and there was obviously something I missed. So for that reason, I'm gonna it, Fool's Idol. I do not like. I do not like how you have to kill that summoner guy. I think it's an interesting mechanic, but I think it shouldn't make it. Call me an idiot, which I probably am, but really, honest to God, I do not like this fight. Even like if we're just talking about the fight itself, it's not great at all. It's just worse Crystal Stage from um, Dark Souls 3. Old Monk. Um, I played Old Monk online, so it is literally just the most epitome of average fake PvP fight of all time. I think a low C tier is really what it deserves. It's better than Man Eaters, and all these. Not much I can say about that. I'm not a huge Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Elden Ring PvPer, but Old Monk completely fine. I never really had an issue. Cool hat though. I will say that the hat that is in that fight is pretty cool. Phalanx. Honest God, I kind of like Phalanx. Objectively, is not a good fight at all, but I think in once I get to my Dark Souls 3 list, you'll see this with the Deacons of the Deep. I just find it really satisfying killing a huge group of enemies that are not It's not a hard boss at all. You just kill all the slimes and everything. But I just find it satisfying just you know, killing all the enemies there, and especially in Dark Souls 3 with Deacons of the Deep. I just find it very fun to just go wild on them. Anyway, so Phalanx, not a great fight, obviously, but I think it's a fun fight regardless. So I'll put him in low C tier, really. All right, Storm King. Um, very, very, very gimmicky. Storm King is a D tier fight, but I think it is better than all of these. It's a very cinematic fight, um, and I think there is a level of fun to the fight because you grab the storm rule and just go hog wild on all the enemies in that arena. It's not a great fight objectively, but I do think it is a fun fight. Not as fun as killing all the enemies and Phalanx, but Storm King pretty okay. As far as the super gimmicky bosses go, Tower Knight. Tower Knight is actually my favorite fight in Demon Souls. I don't know why, honestly. Because I'll be the first to admit, I think Old King Allant, Flame Lurker, and Penetrator down here is an objectively better fight than Tower Knight, but Tower Knight is just super cinematic. You really feel like you're fighting a big bad enemy. I'm not a huge fan of the archers around the side, which they obviously replicated in Bloodborne with the one reborn, and that fight is not as good as the Tower Knight. But I just think overall, Tower Knight is a very solid boss mechanically, and it really kind of teaches you to pay attention to your surroundings with all the archers and everything. Yeah, Tower Knight, my favorite boss in Demon Souls. I need to complete my Demon Souls playthrough, or my second Demon Souls playthrough on New Game Plus. But Tower Knight's always a fun one. Leechmonger, yeah, it's between Dirty Colossus and Armor Spider. I don't think Leechmonger is nearly as bad as Armored Spider or Fool's Idol, but Leechmonger is one of it's right up there with Dirty Colossus on just absolutely forgettable bosses. It doesn't really do anything interesting, but my god, what I will say about this fight is the run back is horrible. One of the worst run backs in the entire Souls series. So yeah, for that reason, fuck this boss, and that's why it is being placed in the D tier. F tier is exclusively reserved in this game for Dragon God because that fight is horrible, absolutely horrible. Um, Penetrator, another very very solid mechanically fight, and I would place him just right after Old King Allant, and before Flame Lurker. Flame Lurker, a couple of very very minor issues I have with him, but nothing major. I don't think the fight's unfair or anything. Just regardless, Penetrator was really the first boss that I encountered in Demon Souls. I was like, this is a really cool fight. It's not a hard fight. It is a very bare bones, solid Souls boss. But yeah, I stand by where it is on B tier, and yeah, Maiden Estrella. This is probably one of the tougher ones to place for me, but Maiden Estrella, you don't actually fight her. She summons a knight, and you fight the knight. And the one time I, have killed this boss, the boss or the knight she summons just got stuck in a cave door thing. I don't know. I'm sure if this video reaches a wide audience, that some people that have played Demon Souls have had that exact same thing happen to them. And it literally just boiled down to, boss swings. I counterattack. I dodge it and counterattack. and then rinse and repeat until the boss is dead. But I also know the boss can heal. So, or if I recall correctly, the knight heals themselves, but it's not a great fight. I would honestly put it below Storm King and above Maneaters. I really do not like Maneaters. I think it's if that boss was in any other arena, it would be a lot better. But it is where it is. Anyway, so as I said in the beginning, this is a collective tier list of all the Souls games that I've played. I have not beaten Dark Souls 2 yet. For if you've played Dark Souls 2, you'll kind of understand why. And I have not beaten Sekiro yet because I don't own it. But as of right now, this is so what I'm basically doing here is there's a reason there's no S and A tier fights because I don't think any bosses in Demon Souls really reach S or A tier. The closest one would be Tower Knight or Old King Allant. I mean, I can justifiably put either of them into A tier, but I do believe that in the entirety of the Soul series that there are better fights that are way more deserving of S and A tier. And one other thing I will do once we get to the other games is I will actually add a top 10. Well, actually, on the final tier list, the collective tier list of all the Souls games I've played, I will have a top 10 tier list, which is going to be a significant amount from Dark Souls 3, which is my favorite of the bunch. But anyway, so that's been my Demon Souls tier list. I don't think really any boss in here is absolutely blow your socks off fantastic, but anyway, that's what it is. That's my opinion. If you do happen to see this, feel free to leave your opinion on down there. Tell me why I'm wrong. If you agree with me, great. But just feel free to leave your opinion. And that's it. Later.